I'm here this afternoon finishing up a fabric sample because I wanted to show you, all of you, how I close them.
Stitches. How do I get the stitches when I have a 2-needle project? There are many ways to close the
Closing methods I've chosen to highlight today are just two.
I'll tell you what I always do. Normally, the one I always use is the one I take out with the same needle with which I have knitted. But hey, there is a crochet option that is also very good. It is very practical. Also, for those who like crochet more or closing the stitches with a gap,
Crochet like this.
if I adjust the camera, I'll bring it very close so you don't miss anything.
Well, I have a knitted sample here, sweater. I have all the stitches to the right to finish the garment. Well, here I have some toys in 5, and the wool I am using for the sample is of medium thickness. You can also work with the 4.5, but I like the garment to be a little loose, not to be so closed, so compact, let's say. I'm just doing a sample every one. Does he? Well, with the thread and with the needle that is making the garment. Obviously, well, this is the way I like it best. With your own loops, close them with your own loops that you have been knitting for a while. I will show you how I close them in another way too, or it can be closed in another way because as I already told you, in the one I usually always do it, it's this way and nothing. Simply just tell them that the points must be closed as they are presented. That is, in this case, they are all right. Well, I will work on all the points to the right and I will close them. But if on your garment they have a motif that has backward stitches, then they work them backwards before passing them to the right stitch. We are working on them as those who come to the right, and those who come the other way around are presented. On the other hand, it seems obvious, but if we don't realize it, it doesn't fit us as well. And the elasticity compromises the elasticity at the end of the garment a little, because the idea is that the stitches we work on are made very loose. That we do not tighten them so that they remain as loose as the initial part of the garment. That is, they do not deform and become narrower here than at the beginning and remain as homogeneous as possible and as good as possible. Well, we simply work the stitch to the right as it is presented, 1 second stitch to the right, and the first stitch we have knitted and passed it. Above the second, we repeat exactly the same thing throughout the round. That is, first point above the second, and we close. A little spike is formed that now I am going to show you so you can see how it looks. But come on, it's simply this, in the right hole at the first point. Above the second. In this way, notice that it remains like a spike. A spike is formed and it is very, very well finished. The truth is that the little spike that remains here, because it is ready to work, that is directly, but when you work, the stitches are assembled and you make, for example, an elastic stitch. Well, it is quite similar. It is quite finished, equally finished as it is here at the end. Well, we continue working like this throughout the lap, passing the first over the second, and simply that, being careful not to tighten the point, to do it in a relaxed way so that the point does not tighten, because sometimes we don't realize we realize and we tighten it. And yes, it is true that what is our speaker that is produced above is wrinkling and it looks bad on us. Well, I continue to close this whole round. I leave the image a little more so that people who are starting out in the fabric, who have never done it or who are beginners, let's say, can see it well and leave it well fixed. This. And well, people who are already used to closing it, well, this is a simple thing for them, but hey, it can always help someone who is starting at the end of the lap. What we will do is we will have a point left simply on the right needle, the end point, and what we will do is the thread that we have left to pass through that point. And that a kind of knot is formed to ensure what the garment is and that it does not disarm us, does not unravel our garment. Okay, now I'm not going to do it. I'm going to show it how it is, but I'm not doing it because I'm going to do a second way, as I had already told you, to close the points, which is with one. It is done with a crochet needle instead of the needle you are knitting with. We use the crochet one and it looks just as good. Well, that's the last point. As I told you, we loosened it a little and this little hebride was left. What we would do is we would cut this strand, we would cut it and we would pass it inside to this point and we would pull. Then it closes here and forms this knot and it would be secured at the end of the garment. Well, nothing. I'm going to do the second way now. The second way to close the stitches with our crochet hook. I'm going to use this 4.5 crochet. The ideal is to use it more or less, although you use the crochet hook with the same number, the same thickness that you have used to knit the garment, that is with crochet hook number 5. 4.5 is reasonable. Can it be used? Well, I'm going to do it as a sample, but you can use a 4.5. What we have to try is not to use several measurements underneath, because it is true that no matter how loose you make it, if you use a very fine crochet hook, you are going to wrinkle it and it will fit. You're going to get tight anyway and it's not going to look good. Well, nothing. Let's now do the second way to close the dots. Don't do this way of undoing the fabric. Go from one needle to another, because if the stitches go, let's see, this is a sample and nothing happens. But if they do this with a real garment, then they run the danger of it coming apart. All right? Well, let's see the next way to get the points. With the crochet needle and this needle make 4.5, you can use the 4.5 5. The normal thing is to use the same thickness of the needles that we have with which we have knitted our garment. Okay, the normal thing is to use 1.5 or 1.4.5 at most, but not less than 4.5, because even if you do, the stitch is very loose by closing it. If you use such a small needle, in the end it will end up wrinkling and our garment is going to deform. Okay then? Well, for this example, I'm using 4.5 and it will work for us. We have the garment here. We pass the thread towards this side, towards the little finger. And what we do is introduce the needle through this side of the stitch. So we are going to take thread and take our first point. This is going to be our first point. We do it again. We go this way. We take thread. We take a point. We slid and finish taking it out of this needle, and now we have on our crochet needle Well, nothing, just as if we were making a chain. We take thread again here, we take it out again on our crochet needle, and we make a chain. We introduce it again on this side, and the entire stitch we are going to take thread and we take it out. We go in here, we take thread, we take it out, and we continue doing everything like that. The whole turn is exactly the same. He has no greater science. In the end result is very, very similar to the one we had before, using the same needles with which we had made the garment. But hey, maybe there are people who like to do it better that way. Why, and it looks great too. The truth is that it also looks beautiful this way, and after perhaps being simpler, I like the truth. I like it better the other way I did it before, using the same needles that I used to knit the two needles. Come on, but hey, there are many ways. Surely other ways apart from this one that I have shown you in this video, but I wanted to at least teach these two so you'd have a choice. Take one or the other, see how it looks once finished. It is very similar. It is very similar to how we did it in the first way. In the first way that I taught you before, it is quite the same. But hey, if you don't like to close it with the turns, you have this option, and at least you can close it like this. Well, I continue to close it until the end because, as I already told you, so that you can see how I finish them, which is very, very simple. And now I'm back. Well, this is the final part. The last point is very, very good. No, it doesn't stay wrinkled. It doesn't stay deformed. The garment remains very much the same as I took out the needles with the two needles.
Well, just what?
We would cut our thread depending on whether we want to leave thread, because we want to take advantage of the edge to sew, since we leave a good piece of thread. A distance, so that I already tell you, it is very good, because many times we already have the thread attached to the garment and we don't have to be doing finishing. But hey, this is for a short example. Here, okay, so we have this last point, we pass the thread and pull, and this thing doesn't leave here. It doesn't go anywhere anymore. All right. Until our next video, and bye.